Hello, 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 and hello. Welcome to a new Let's Play, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 Remake. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8 is one of my all-time favourite PlayStation 2 games. I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours playing it. So when it was remade for the PS5, I was automatically on board for it. So we're just going to go through some little setup. So to start off with, the way I'm going to do this is a very long game. So the way I'm going to do this is seasons. So this is going to be season 1. For season 1, we're going to have the tutorial on. Have all this disabled. We're going to go with a remake rather than the original. And I always turn on the hexes so I can see them. But right, yeah, we're going to do this. So let me go through this main menu. We can start a new game. We can edit officers. So it says edit historical officers. This means that we can take like any officer that's in the game and we can like edit them and change their stats, change their abilities, etc, etc. But we can't do this until we do this requirement. We need to complete a scenario with an original officer as the protagonist. So an original officer is essentially a character that we've created from scratch. I think I will delve into this at one point, but usually I go about them a specific way. In the extras submenu, we can have a lot of things here. We have scenarios, essentially, and some characters here, but scenarios mostly. And some old ROTK8 portraits from the original. I'll get these at one point, but for now we're going to focus main game. The gallery gives us music. Movies, which there is only a certain amount. It gives us music. And we can't actually, well, I can, but you're not supposed to be able to record the music. And we have an art book, which we can go through at one point. Well, actually, gameplay recording is not allowed, technically, but... And bonuses, this is basically rewards. So for instance, the heroes assemble, you get that scenario by completing any other scenario. Fierce leaders, wise leaders, battle of the seven forces, the true romance of the three kingdoms. We can unlock all these things by doing these conditions, which we will be trying to do. But for now, we're just going to go straight into like a new game. So this is Xiaoling. Xiaoling is the tutorial. She will teach us the game, and we'll be listening to her for this first episode. We will choose our avatar to live the life. If you're unfamiliar with its officers, I suggest choosing the recommended option. And the officers option will allow you to pick first the officer, then a period in which they were active. Scenario, I'll explain this. So this is where we can make a new game. So we can pick a recommended scenario. I'm just gonna skip through this. So the recommended scenarios is basically scenarios that they have chosen as easy, beginner friendly scenarios. So for instance, oh, I've just done that again, my bad. So we can play as a free officer and try out that scenario as Sima Yi. We can play as a common officer, we can play as a tactician, we can play as a governor, we can play as a viceroy, or we can play as a ruler. And there's all these different things that we can play as. So we can do these, and we have chosen as set scenarios with set predetermined officers for us to play as. Or we can pick an officer. Let's pick one at random. Liang Mao, and we can play as Liang Mao in all of these scenarios that he essentially lives in. So there's Ling Sao, Ling Cao, I think it's Ling Sao. So he has a lot less because he dies eventually. So you can do it that way. Or you can pick a scenario, and you can pick a scenario to start in, which is typically a year, so 184 Jan, 185 Jan. And then pick a character from there. Or you also have these fictional scenarios as well. I will aim to do all of these scenarios, every single one of them. I kind of want to do every single one. And it's for that reason that it's going to be a very, very long Let's Play. So what are we going to do? I'm not sure what we're going to do. To start off with, what do I want my first scenario to be? You know what? We will pick one of the recommended ones. And you know what? We will play as Lu Bu. We will play as Lu Bu for our first scenario. So we will be playing as a common officer to start with, and we're going to be seeing what that kind of experience is like. Lu Bu, the most powerful warlord of all, is truly peerless under the heaven. In addition to his overwhelming prowess on the battlefield, you can also experience the story of the beauty trap stratagem, featuring the beautiful Diao Chan and the tyrant Dong Zhuo. So you can see here we have that we will be starting in 190 Jan, Cao Cao's call to arms in the coalition against Dong Zhuo. You can see our stats. We have 108 strength, we have 95 leadership. We are an excellent officer in terms of fighting, but we really suffer in terms of intelligence, charisma and politics. We belong to the Dong Zhuo force in Luoyang, and we are 35 and we are officer rank 4. Officer rank essentially determines how much you get paid and how many troops you are allowed to command. We'll look at the scenario settings. We are going to play normal to start with, and so just that difficulty. If I change this, it changes everything for me. I could set this up how I want, but for now we're just going to play on normal. We're going to look at the scenario settings too, so we can change the lifespan of officers, make them live longer or shorter. We can turn on or off whether they can die in battle. Natural disasters, we can turn them off entirely or have average amount or many. Initial diplomacy setting basically is your faction's going to start is it going to follow history? So for instance, say Liu Bei and Cao Cao are friends. I know they weren't, but let's say they were. If you have it set to historical, they will be friends when you start the scenario, but if fiction off, then everybody will be neutral. And it's the same with compatibility and relationships. You can go historical or fictional, and this means that nobody, like for instance Liu Bei, Zhang Fei and Guan Yu won't start off as sworn brothers if you go fictional. Cao Cao won't be married to Bianchi and stuff like that. And you can have duels during battle, you can turn these on or off, and you can determine whether free officers, where they spawn. As the game progresses, more officers become of age and join the game, and if you are set to historical, they'll join where they typically turned up in history. If fictional, it will be random. We're going to leave all these settings as is for now. And we are going to jump in.
东卓独揽大权后，行废帝之事，处少帝而立献帝，暴政频失。留在都城的曹操图谋刺杀董卓，然以失败告终，只得逃走。
宁可我负天下人，不可天下人负我。
曹操在陈留举兵，广发檄文，号召各地诸侯打倒董卓。
云长、翼德，
我等也得响应檄文，匡正混乱的朝政。
诸侯联军需要盟主，此位非袁公莫属了。
盟主之作，舍我其谁？那么，先锋又该由何人担任？
我江东知府愿为先锋，讨伐董卓。
与此同时，董卓也在虎牢关驻扎重兵，等待联军来犯。
诸侯算什么？联盟又算什么？奉贤，把他们全都打回家去！
遵命。彻底歼灭敌人，片甲不留。
时为初平元年1月，董卓军与反董卓联军之战即将揭开序幕。
诸位。
So each scenario has that little scenario introduction kind of thing to it, and that one was pretty epic. So this is a pretty famous part of Chinese, the Three Kingdoms history, is the coalition against Dong Zhuo. So now we are in something called the Parliament.
准备好了吗？
Before we begin the game, let's give a brief introduction on statuses and objectives, my liege. You are a common officer, it is just as it sounds. You are an ordinary officer who serves a governor or a ruler. As you build up merit by suggesting strategies and achieving results in missions, you can become a governor or tactician yourself, allowing you to perform even more actions.
让我来说明。
Lend me a bit of your time so that I may explain how to play the game. Follow Xiaoling's advice on the bottom right. So this first Parliament is essentially where we do strategy. Like against other factions, we determine what we're going to do. Are we going to hire someone new? Are we going to attack a city? Are we going to try and undermine their defences? Are we going to try and convince someone from their faction to join our faction? Are we going to commit espionage and just find out information? Right now we're locked because the tutorial's on. So Xiaoling wants us to conduct espionage.
打扰了。
Espionage commands. Gather intel on a city, gain information on a target city's durability and troops, and details on its officers. Always successful is really important to mind. It will never fail, ever, no matter who you use to do it. And they make plots more likely to succeed in that city. It's effective for a year, and then you need to do it again. You can also do it by, you don't need to do it via the Parliament. You can also do espionage just by visiting the city in the other stage of the game, which we'll get to. So right now we need to select espionage,
请听我说。
which allows us to gather information on cities controlled by forces other than your own. So it's very important to do espionage, and any officer can blah 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 blah. Right, so basically, to do an action in Parliament, you require something called strategy points. Governors have more strategy points than common officers, but every officer can only do one action even if they've got multiple strategy points. So for instance, if you have 4 strategy points and you send Lu Bu to go espionage a city, you can't then use another one to send Lu Bu to go espionage a different city. You need to choose a different officer to do that. And it's the same with attacking, so you've got to be very considerate about who you send to attack, and who you send to do plots, and who is espionage, etc, etc. So we will pick a town to espionage. We've got Zhanggang above us. We have Cao Cao and Chenliu, Sunjian and Jucheng, and that's it. That's the 3 that are right immediately surrounding us. So we'll do Cao Cao and Chenliu. It costs us 200 gold and 1 strat point.
我忽然有个想法，
We'll propose it to the ruler. It's important to note here that the ruler can deny your proposal if they're like, no, that's dumb.
好吧，
But espionage usually never gets denied ever.
明白。
So we've investigated Chen Liu, and now we can see all this information. So we can see that the governor is Cao Cao, and Zhou Yu is a tactician. We can see how much gold they have, not a lot, 3,720. They can see their supplies and the amount of troops they have. We can also look at their officers. For instance, Zhou Yu is their tactician with intelligence of 76. And that is the highest they've got. Oh no, they've actually got Li Dian with an intelligence of 79, so he would technically be a better tactician. That's probably going to happen at some point. But we can look at all of these officers and we can see all the details about them because we've done investigation.
让我来说明。
Now all the information about this has been revealed. Great way to use your strategy points in Parliament.
请听我说，
Let us continue and apply for a mission.
让我来说明。
Establishing missions. Choose the missions you want your subordinates to complete. It's crucial for the development of your cities to have your officers work on domestic affairs. Developing your cities is essential to the unification of the country, as your force will receive gold, provisions, and soldiers from your cities. Domestic actions comes in 5 categories: cultivate, commerce, science, repair, and public order. These actions are carried out at the farmland, market, workshop, castle gates, and garrison. Performing domestic actions will increase the relevant domestic points. The amount of points gained depends on the abilities and skills of the officer assigned the action. Rulers, viceroys, and governors can assign missions to the retainers. Officers with good abilities and high motivation are more likely to do well. Tacticians and common officers can propose missions they want to do. You will earn merit for your accomplishment on missions and you will gain privileges as you rise through the ranks. Be proactive and volunteer for missions in which you excel. So missions is essentially like working on developing your bases, your cities. The more you develop them, the better you get, the more troops you get, the more food you get, the more gold you get. So because we've only got one strat point, we've used it, we can't do anything else, so we need to end strategy proposals. This first season will basically be a lot of tutorial explaining the game. So now Dongjua is going to oversee this season's missions.
有意义吗？
Sometimes they will set a particular policy, which is basically them saying focus on commerce, focus on getting us more gold, or focus on defending the walls, repairing them. But we don't have a domestic policy set right now. So other people will make suggestions of what they want to work on. So Zhurong wants to work on cultivate land.
我有一计。
So does Ho Chung.
让我来说明。
And here we can suggest what we want to do. You can suggest missions to be carried out over 3 months until the next parliament in order to help the city flourish. We've already done that. Your suggestions will not always be accepted. You can suggest that you want to do repair, but if your ruler decides no, you're better off doing cultivate land, they will just put you in cultivate land. So it's a suggestion at the end of the day.
千万不能跳过哦。
And different missions require different abilities. Choosing missions that align with your strengths is the quickest way to a promotion because you'll do better. And when you advance in rank, you'll be able to command more soldiers and receive a larger pay each season. Build up merit through parliament commands, missions, and battles. So you can see here we have cultivate land, commerce, science, repair, and public order. We can also see just below the picture of each our relevant stat. So for cultivate land, we only have a political skill of 17, and we do not have any farming, so we will do terrible at that. If I wanted to do that, we would barely make a dent in it. And it's the same for commerce. We would barely do anything. We'd only get like +6. Int is 28, so we would do a bit better there, but still not much. Our leadership, however, is 95. So if we wanted to lead that, we would really do well at that. And obviously our strength is 108 with 3 levels in security skill, so we would absolutely dominate that. It wants us to go for public order, so I'm going to suggest public order.
妙计。
And the ruler said, yep, okay, do that.
让我来说明。
And now we need to work hard on our mission for 3 months. If we don't have one, we can do other things like interact with other officers, training, getting better stats, or doing tavern requests. and we want to get more merit so we can quickly get more ranks, more money, more troops. So when you get given a mission, you get given a goal.
开始说明。
So like get 10 and that will be 100%. If you get 20, 200%, you'll get 200 gold. I think maybe also a privilege, I'm not sure. So we are kind of limited. Right, I'll get into these in a bit. We are kind of limited right now because it's a tutorial. So try completing a mission at the garrison. So let's go to the garrison. This is where we do public order.
打扰了，
Improve public order in the city. The higher your strength, the greater the results.
千万不能跳过
If。it drops too low, there is a risk that unrest and revolt will break out among the citizens and new soldiers will no longer join you. So yeah, if your public security goes too low, revolt happens and it's bad. So let's try and do public order. Sometimes other officers can assist you when you work in a
就是
facility.
这样的机制。
Some of them are in the same facility with whom you formed a strong bond, like your spouse, your sworn siblings, or anybody that you are really trusting with.
无论在什么情况，
Interpersonal relationships come with their fair share of problems, but making connections is essential if you want your work to go smoothly. So as you can see, we have one person within the city, our wife, Yanshi. The she part essentially means lady. So every female character will have like Yan Shi or Zhou Shi or something like that. It means Lady Zhou, or in this case, Lady Yan, which is Lu Bu's wife. So we can see that Yan Shi here is linked with us because she's our wife. So she may come to our aid, but it's only 3% probability. So we can do this public order and we can improve it by 6.
可以打扰一下吗？
And there we go, we've already, as you can see, 6 out of 10. Let's look at our player character info and can we see that anywhere? Mission. We can see what mission we have, but we can't see, right? Okay, so that's annoying, but that's fine. So as you can see, we were only meant to improve it by 10, we've already done it by 6. So let's do it again, another 6.
那个
Luo Yang's public order has increased by 6, we're now at 12 out of 10, 120%, and we get strength experience. Not that we need strength experience at this point. So now they want us to look at the relationship chart.
让我来说明。
You can check your relationships on the relationship chart. Good relations can be of great benefit in many situations. There are also destined relationships that can be synergetic or antagonistic. A synergetic relationship is created with sympathy is triggered 4 times. So sometimes when you interact with someone, they'll really click with you and they'll be like, man, I really like what I really like the things you stand for. Like I really vibe with you. And you can get sympathy triggered. If you do that 4 times with one officer, they'll become synergetic, which means they will basically much more likely to come to your side and you'll get a lot of good things. It's a good thing. And they have the same effect and benefit as spouses and sworn siblings. It can also be triggered during battles or when doing city actions or interacting. And you get more of them the higher reputation you can have. So I think the highest you can get is maybe 8, and you need 5,000 reputation to get that. Meanwhile, antagonistic relationships are negative associations, such as like sworn enemies and stuff like that. They won't be really willing to interact with you, and they won't really want to be in your force, although they can be, and special effects might occur, especially during battles. Sworn siblings is someone that you can become a sworn, like Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, Liu Bei. You can do that in this game. You'll get special effects and exclusive events. You can also marry an officer of the opposite sex, and you'll also get special effects and exclusive events. You can become a rival with an officer. It's basically someone who is like, hey, you're good, I'm good, let's see who's better. and you can become a sworn enemy. Oh, sorry about that, we're back. So that is a brief explanation of the relationship chart, so let's look at it.
让我来说明。
Rivals and who you're bound by destiny, synergetic, antagonistic.
千万不能跳过。
So you can only have a limited number of officers. So you can only have 3 sworn siblings, 3 wives if you're a male character, and 1 husband if you're a female character. I think you can have a lot of antagonistic and sworn enemies, dislike and grudge, and you can have up to, yeah, I was right, 8 synergetic. So we have 1 person, Yanshi.
开始说明。
So try having a discuss with another officer at your home or an inn. I think I'm going to skip doing these. No, I'll do them. Might as well. So you can interact with officers and improve your character abilities at your home. If you select rest, you will advance to the next month and your action points will be restored. You can interact with officers to increase your trust with them. If you discuss topics and gift them items they enjoy, your relationship will improve even further. If you can get an officer to be devoted to you, they will pass on their wisdom to you. Wisdom is what you use to learn new skills and tactics. And officers from other forces who become friendly and above can be employed and recommended. So you can hold a discussion with an officer which could trigger sympathy in specific circumstances. You can gift them an item. You can hold a duel or a debate. And when you reach maximum trusting with an officer, you can send them a symbol of friendship to turn your relationship into a devoted one. Devoted officers pass on their wisdom to you every time the devotion gauge is full. The type of wisdom passed on will vary depending on the officer. You can hold a banquet to improve your relationships with multiple officers at the same time. The amount of food that you put down, i.e. the more money you spend, will affect the atmosphere of the banquet as well as how much your relationships will change. And depending on your reputation, some officers may not want to turn up to your banquet. You can only do a banquet once a month, so use them to efficiently improve your relationships with officers. However, you will not be able to invite officers you don't know or are on bad terms with. Or you can train to obtain experience and improve your abilities. You can learn new skills and tactics using wisdom, and you can resign or rest. So we'll try having a discuss with an officer.
千万不能跳过哦。这里需要特别注意。
Let's pick an officer to talk to. Who do I want to talk to? Well, I would like to have someone like Zhang Liao be our sworn brother.
来得好，
Because Zhang Liao is Zhang Liao. He's really good. He has high leadership, high strength. He has great tactics, and he has great skills, and he has a good trait. So this is somebody that I would like to be sworn siblings with. And you can see on this basic screen, you can see their reputation, what kind of favoured reputation they favour, whether they like people who fight a lot, whether they like people who are more intelligent and talk a lot, or whether they prefer people who are like evil. You can see their stats, their status, their loyalty amount, how long they've been serving their current force, what their mission is, how many troops they can take to battle, how much money they get each season, what their rank is, how much merit points they have, their personality, and greed and interest. You also see their tactics, their skills, and any traits they have, who they are good relations with. So he is synergetic with Gao Shun. So Gao Shun's another one I would like to get synergetic with, and we can see their biography as well.
那么
So let's talk to Zhang Liao.
接下来
And sadly, it was only passable, which means we didn't go up very much. But we did go up a bit. We can also gift them stuff, but that's enough about interactions for
那
now.
么
请听我说。
So try training at home. Select home and train.
让我来说明。
We can...
这
So there's lots of things that you can do to train. It's not just this train menu. We can do it by performing missions, or doing duels, doing debates, stuff like that. Normally you can only get ability to 99. And if you want to go above that, you need a special... You need to talk, know, and be on good terms with a special person in the game. As you can see, our strength is already at 100, but it's beyond 100 already. So because it's already beyond 100, we can train in it. But I don't really want to train strength. Strength is absolutely fine. We don't need more strength. What we do need is more intelligence. So I'm going to train in intelligence.
让我来说明。
Okay. So yeah, abilities are important.
请听我说。
So now, as you can see in the top left, underneath low young, we have action points. We have no more to spend. Doing the public order cost us 60 each time, so 120. Talking to Zhang Liao took us 20 away, and then training was another 60. So now we can't do anything else. We must rest for the month.
让我来说明。
Oh, and meeting the spouse, Lady Yan, is saying we're a bit worse for wear. And basically, because she said that, we now get 50 more action points recovered. Okay.
一切如常吧。
A street encounter, Huang Wan. So we've met Hong Wang on the street, and now he's been like, hey, come to the
好
tavern.
吧，
And we're going to basically have a discuss. And that has triggered sympathy with Hong Wan, not who I really wanted sympathy with.
让我来说明。
So you can do it through repeated interactions with them, or inquiring at a facility where they are located. We haven't really got inquiries yet, but we will eventually.
开始说明。
So let's look at Huang Wan and see who we just went to the tavern with. Yeah, this is the info screen. You can see a lot of different information. I think I'm just going to patch this tutorial and just start doing things myself. We've already been through this relationship screen. Player character info, we can see all of our stuff. Map, we can look at the map, which basically shows us all of China. We can look at, see, here's Liu Yan, here's Zhanglu, here's Ma Teng. And we can see, we can also go into individual cities and look at this, but we don't know much because we've not committed espionage in that city. So we're like, what's going on over there? We don't really know. We can also look at their division, which is basically like if you have like, think of it as like splitting your army up into different groups, divisions. Or you can look at their force details as a whole. So that's what that does. We can go into this info screen, we can look at our force, all forces, other. There is lots and lots that we can do here. We're going to go through it all in this first episode. So on own force we can look at our city info, where we're actually stationed. Dong Zhuo is the governor and Li Ru is the tactician. We actually are losing a lot of supplies. We're losing nearly 35,000 a month. Because we have too many troops. If you see down below troops, we have 72,000 and we can only really hold 31,000 before we start to have too many troops in the city to feed. We are gaining gold, 282. Gold is depending on how many officers you have, so we could afford to have some more officers in the town, but we're really struggling to feed the troops. We can see the current status, so development, commerce, science, defence and public order. We can see how that's going. We can see the public attitude, that's tied into the inquiries. So public attitude is basically how well known you are in that particular farmland or market or workshop. And each city has their own public attitude thing. So I can get my castle gate public attitude and low young to 100, but if I go to Zhu Chung, it will be 0, and I'll need to do it all over again. You can also see the policy, so what kind of city it is, how big it is, what kind of city it is. Does it have a disaster? Does it have the Emperor, which this city does do? Has the Han Emperor. What the plan is for policy, conquest and transport. You can also look at our force and see general information and stats. What we have, what we don't have, kind of thing. And it's the same thing, division, we can also look at it for division. We can look at specialty, which says who's got what item. So we, Lu Bu, have the red hair, which gives us the ability to always retreat from battle. And it also gives us a skill in resolute. We also have the crescent halberd, which gives us strength plus 8. So the way that items work, so because crescent halberd has strength plus 8, if I buy another weapon that gives me a strength plus 2, I won't get that plus 2 because the strength plus 8 is higher, so I only get the strength plus 8. Wang Yong has the 7-star sword, which is strength plus 7. You can also look at city officers, see who is in the city at the minute. Lu Bu, Dongzhou, Li Ru, Wang Yong, Ho Jiong, Hong Wang. And that is the person that we went to the tavern with. He has not great fighting stats, but he's more of a thinker, political charisma. He doesn't have very good. He has infight, which is decent. He has some more ingenuity. So yeah, he was actually a friend of Lu Bu and actually helped him assassinate Dong Zhuo. Zhu Rong, Go Si, Hu Zhan, Zhang Ji, Fan Chou, Li Jue, Li Su, Wang Huang, Gao Shun, Zhang Liao, Li Meng, Hua Jin, Hao Ming, Wei Yue, Wei Zhu, Yan Qi, Hu Cheng, Hu Ji, Kuai Yong, Cheng Lian, Song Jiang, Sao Jing, and Zheng Tai, who is a free officer. He is not part of our force, he's just an officer that's just kind of chilling in Lo Yang. We can look at our cities for our force, so we've got 4 in Dongzhou's force. Chang'an, Tianshui, Hongnong. So you can see that we have 2 commercial cities, 1 fortified city and 1 pasture city. I'll explain them in a bit. We can see what our domestic affairs are looking like, our policies, our basically gold supply, troop income. This is interesting, I've never looked at this, but it shows you what cities they border, which is really interesting. I've never actually looked at that screen. And we can actually just look at all officers in the force, if we wanted as well. But for in the log, what's the log? This is just basically telling us what was said. All forces is the same kind of thing. We can look at all forces, and it's the same kind of idea. We can look at their cities. Divisions, officers for everyone in the force. You can also look at everybody's specialties and see who has what. So someone has Swords of Fate and someone has the Gudin Blade. Someone has the Book of Heavenly Evasions, Talisman of Ogres. This is really interesting, I didn't really realise this. So yeah, this is really helpful actually, we can see who has what. I had no idea about that actually. So someone has this. Mea Cao Cao has it. The Mingde's War Manual. And the Sword of 100 Laws. And the Sword of Heaven and Sword of Light. Cao Cao has a lot of swords. So yeah, that specialty is quite interesting. And here we can look at troop types. So it basically tells us all about the different troop types that we can have in the game. We have archers, we have cavalry, and we have infantry. We have different siege towers. which cost money to include in your army, but they're very useful. This describes different stratagems that you can use during battles. We'll get to them in a bit. This is rank. So you can see an officer rank of 9 can only take 6,000 troops into battle and only gets 50 gold per season. Our officer rank 1 can take 14,000. So yeah, big difference. This describes the different kind of defense facilities you can get in a battle. Stronghold, city, gate, defensive wall, watchtower, catapult tower, signal tower. You can look at different ships and see what kind of ships you can do. Each ship has different tactics available to it, so a normal ship can only do incendiary, but an assault ship can do incendiary, skirmish and chain, whereas a Luchan can do incendiary, skirmish and rush, and a warship can do all of them. Official titles, so who's the Emperor, who's the Monarch of Wei. I didn't actually realise that, so you can actually see who's got the Emperor. So to be Emperor you need to have 35 cities, and you need to be a Monarch or the commander of the Yellow Turbans. Monarch of Wei, you need to be 25. That's really interesting, I have no idea. That's really cool actually, I genuinely did not know this. That's the first time I've ever looked at this. So you can become a regional governor, a unified more than one province. So you can see Liu Yan, Liu Yu and Han Fu are regional governors, and Prime Minister and General. So that's really interesting. And city characteristics. So farming cities have high development limits, so they're really good for bringing in supplies. Commercial, really good for bringing in gold. Fortify, really good for defense. And pasture is just your regular average, it's just kind of average. You don't want pasture. But that's all that info done. And we also have the help, which we can go through. Don't worry, we're not going to, but we can go through loads of stuff here if we really wanted to. But we don't. So what the game wants us to do now is go to the tavern and accept a request. So at the tavern you can do requests. Now requests are little like side missions that you can do that give you reputation. It's not a very big boost to reputation, so you need to do a lot of them to get anywhere really. It's more like a gradual thing. But it's better to have reputation. We have 2,550 martial reputation already, which is really good. We only have 10 cultural reputation and we had 500 notorious. So we're known for being a bit evil. If we come here and we go to the request, we can see we have 2. Breaking curfew, which gives us 200 gold but increases our notoriety. And festival decorations, which gives us 50 gold and increases our cultural reputation. We're going to do the breaking the curfew and be notorious. We do this little request, help this rogue, and we get 20 notorious reputation and 200 gold. And that is that. Yep. So it's basically saying, hey, go complete missions.
请听我说。
And we are finally done with the tutorial. That is the tutorial done. Can you believe it? 45 minutes. But yeah, we are now officially in the actual game. The tutorial is done. If we want any more help, we have the frequently asked questions, which can help us out. So let's look at any of these. Is there any of these I want to go over? What should I consider when I become a common officer? So the service site in which you live and follow the orders of superiors. Eventually, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Yeah, not much there. What I do want to look at is I saw something there. What happens if I gain notorious reputation? So officers are less likely to interact with you. Alliance and other diplomatic actions are less likely to succeed. Your officers' loyalty will decrease, and tales that require low notoriety will become unavailable. On the other side, officers who value notoriety will react differently during interactions. You can loot cities, and tales and endings that require high notoriety will become available. Honestly, much more negative than good, if I'm very honest.
想了
You can even go general, parliament, cities, battles, interactions, officers, settings, and even look at the manual. But we're going to call that an episode, tutorial episode, and then when we come back next time we'll be jumping actually into the first ever, we'll be jumping into the game. I'll drop a save here. Thanks for being here. I know it's been a long one, I know it's been a lot of tutorial, we have a lot more tutorial stuff to go through, but I'll explain everything as we go. See you next time, take care.